each one of those jobs, I've always tried to make things better and be very eager about doing that. So being a risk taker on your career in an appropriate way where you get out of your comfort zone.
Ma'am, you have an education in supply chain. You have spent time in HR. You have had profit and loss responsibilities, and as an executive, you have seen it. You have seen probably every aspect of the organization. Probably a diverse. I love executives who have this diverse background because they understand the organization. That executives who have been serving only in one functional role never get it. What advice would you give to somebody who's in middle management to develop their career and move into higher roles and responsibilities? And if I should say this, become as successful as you have been in your career, what advice would you give them?
Well, I worked for a long time with Schlumberger, and Schlumberger took a lot of really great risks on me, and I accepted those risks.
Yes.
So I've had a number of different types of jobs, and each one of those jobs, I've always tried to make things better and be very eager about doing that. So being a risk taker on your career in an appropriate way where you get out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
And you put yourself in a position that you might not know everything, but you're very willing to learn and work with a really good team.
Yes.
So if someone is in a middle management role and wants to try something different, then really speak up and be willing to do something different that you might not be 100% qualified for.
Yes.
And then you give it everything you've got to learn. And the benefit is you bring something different to the table with your experience.
Yes.
And
so become a risk taker. I love that advice. I give similar advice. I call it becoming an intrapreneur.
Yes.
You think like an entrepreneur inside a corporation, because that's the only way to get ahead. If you're comfortable and cozy in your job and you're waiting to be discovered, it's going to be a long time.
Well, that's the other thing. You can't just wait to be discovered. Sometimes you need to raise your head up and show something there.
Yes.
So.
But you said something very interesting there. You said Schlumberger took many risks on you. They took a lot of risk on you. Why did that happen? Is that because you had demonstrated that you are willing, that you're a risk taker? Or was that the culture at Schlumberger where they were taking risk on many people and then watching who was coming through?
It's both. Performance matters. Performance matters, I think, in any company, and it always should matter how you perform to have recognition. But that, in Schlumberger, it's a very special company in how talent is developed and making sure that talent is identified, risks are taken that are mutual, and it's a great recipe. That's been a great success.
Yes. And I want to bring this full circle back to Wood. We started with consistency.
Yeah.
Because the thing that you want to hear from the 15,000 people who work for you is that they delivered exactly what the customer was expecting, right? And now, how do I, if I was to translate your message to them, I say, I need consistency from you and I need risk taking. How do I take risk and deliver on consistency? What would you advise them?
Well, taking risk needs to be very controlled in these environments. So taking risk in
calculated risk
in an operations environment taking a risk is not advisable.
Yes.
When you're talking about moving to a different job,
Yes.
That's controlled as well.
Yes.
It's important. You have process, you have standards,
Yes.
And good governance. So you want to make sure you have a good system in place.
Yes.
So that employees should not have to be taking risks on their own.
Yes.
It should be something that's very controlled and measured.
Yes.
On it.
But I guess what they could do is within the parameters and the frameworks that exist, maybe taking risk is wrong characterization. Maybe what they do is they certainly think out of the box, and then help push that, because there is always risk in introducing change.
There is.
So you have to, because people may not appreciate that. People may see you even as a troublemaker and say, well, we have been doing this for 23 years. Why do you want to come change that? Why do you want to question that? Why don't you just go and do it? And so they could think out of the box and champion that. That is how they take risk, not taking risk with the projects, but taking risk on how the thinking and helping change that thinking. So,
well, I like that. And that's, that has served me well in my career. So, let's assume, safety is the most important.
Yes.
And we understand that we want to operate safely. When employees have ideas of how to do something better, I definitely want to know.
Yes.
And having an environment where employees are comfortable to speak up and challenge appropriately, I like that. Because there's always probably a better way to do something to support a client.
Yes.
And that's what we're here for, to support our clients in a safe way. So I welcome if there's something that's new or different, and if it makes sense that it can help, why wouldn't we want to listen and make a change?
Yes.
So I really encourage that.
Yes. No, I thank you. Thank you, ma'am, for that answer. Because not only do we have to produce energy transition, but we have to be thinking about organizational transition. Mm-hmm. How have our organizations worked for the last 50 years, and how they must work for the next 50 years? That transition has to happen. And I will guarantee you this, ma'am, energy transition is going to seem like a cakewalk compared to organizational transition.
It is tough sometimes.
Organizational transition, and this, you have 50,000 people in your team, and transitioning that organization. That's where the real challenge is, because if you're able to create that organization that is agile, that is nimble, and yet is able to deliver consistently, that organization is going to be unmatched. No other engineering consulting giant will be able to match you if you could figure that critical success factor out. Ma'am, I want to thank you so much. I have enjoyed talking with you. You are wonderful. Appreciate your answers. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your insights. And we look forward to hosting you in September at the Houston Strategy Forum. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ravi. We'll see you soon.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.